My name is Alex. I have a
Right.
Instagram, and
I am also called Alex, so hopefully that won't be confusing.
probably not. I mean, two Alexes, that's pretty awesome. But the first question that I ask anyone that I ever interview is, how's everything going? Not in your music life only, but also in your personal life as well, because that's also important.
Oh my God. So I just got back from work like half an hour ago, and it was the busiest day in a long time. And, there are like many challenges
Mhm.
um, with regards to things happening, events and things at my work. So yeah, it's hectic. It's good not to be at work right now. I would say that's the main feeling.
I hear you. My favorite part of the day is when I clock out and I get to leave.
Hard agree. Hard agree.
So I want to talk about this EP. I've definitely listened to it a few times. Really enjoyed it. So thank you for sending it to me. I really appreciate that.
No, glad to hear.
But I want to know like what inspired this EP? How did it all come about? Like just tell me the whole creation story.
Okay, so basically, if we go back a bit, Infected Dead the band, pre-pandemic, we had put out another release, and we were poised to. We'd done some tours with some like bigger death metal bands from our country, at least in the UK, bands like Bloodshot Dawn, and we played some shows with like Ingested and Vader, Immolation, and it was all like we're gonna write an album, like we're gonna get that, and then wham, like the pandemic happened, and then it was like, okay, so we don't want to put this album out in the pandemic because like loads of other people were doing that and you couldn't like tour or anything. So it was like, okay, we're going to continue writing. We're going to make sure we get the best songs. Over the course of that, we just the bass player that plays on this EP, Luke Fabian, he'd only just joined the band, but he also played in a another band in the UK called Pupil Slicer, if you're aware of them. Um, and they're kind of like a mathcore band. They got signed to Prosthetic Records and they exploded. Like they put out like a an album, Mirrors. So we kind of lost him for a bit, and at the same time, it's like this is fine. We're still writing. Then we lost our drummer. Um, yeah, so it's just like things like that were happening, and then I went and joined Pupil Slicer for a bit and like played live guitar for them, which is cool. I got to go play all around Europe and things like this. So then that ended for both of us in at the end of 2023, and it was like, okay, well, let's do the death metal thing again. So we were like, you know, we've had so many years off, we can't just like put out a single and then work towards an album. It was like we've got to probably put out an EP because we saw some guidance on it, and people were like, well, people don't review singles, like people review releases and stuff. So it was like, okay, what we'll do then is we'll take the four songs that we felt were the most cohesive and the best off of the album that we had written, and we'd put that out together as like a relaunch of the band itself. But like musically, the inspiration for the EP was just to create this really musically dense, melodic, but really visceral music. Yeah, and when we dug these songs up from the depths of the hard drive and
Yeah.
we started putting on because we got a new drummer in 2024, Scott Lindsay, who's amazing. Can't say enough good things about Scott. It was like, okay, this is sick. We've got the team together. We're gonna put these things together and make an accurate. I guess the main thing was to create an accurate representation of how the five of us sound together.
Yeah.
And I feel like we achieved that for sure with this.
Well, that's awesome. I did also want to ask about the photo shoot because for those who don't know, one of the pictures is behind me. It's
Yes.
so pretty. Where did you guys like do the photo shoot?
Okay, so I don't know if you saw, but this is like classic work when you when you're in a band or whatever, like trying to get everyone's schedule to line up is like borderline impossible. Like anyone who's listening that is in a band or has been in one will realize this. So we shot a music video for the song In Spaces Beyond,
Mm,
and it's hard to pick out in the music video because it's really chaotic. But the video and the photos were done at a place called St. Mary's Church, which is in Brighton, which is a like big coastal town in the UK, in the south of the UK. So to make the best use of the time, it was like, okay, if we're going to shoot this music video, we've got to do these photos as well. Otherwise, it's going to take a billion years to get everyone's schedule to come together. But the place
yeah.
is really nice. It's quite a popular venue for renting out for like music videos and things. But what was fortunate with doing the music video at the same time is like we had different people doing the music video and different people doing the photos, and the people doing the music video bought all their lighting and stuff. And our photographer was just like, I can just use this lighting. So it came out really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of cool that churches are like, yeah, that's cool, like ran outer space, you know?
Not all of them are like it, as you can imagine. Not all of them are. Like to add another kind of little fun fact about the photo shoot is I'm sure you saw it. There's one where our vocalist is sitting in a throne and he's holding something. That
Yeah,
thing that he's holding is when he was at university, some guy was like, "Do you want this?" and just had like a bit of a human skull.
yeah.
Like, so what he's holding is this like I guess it's just the top of like someone's head,
Oh,
um, which is really weird. And at like the end, after we shot the music video, because that appears in it, the thing just like broke in half.
oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's very weird. I was like, where did you get this from? Like, people don't just have like parts of a human like skull. And he was like, no, some guy just gave it to me.
Okay, well, I'll put a photo in the video so everyone else can see the photo that we're talking about. That's really random. That's
Yeah,
kind of
it's very,
that
very,
it broke.
yeah, it was very, very strange. It was almost like bang, the video's done, and the thing was just like split, and we were like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, hopefully that's a
Very, very spooky.
hopefully it's a good luck thing and not like a bad luck thing.
Like I would imagine like Sod's law is that we're all like, we're all gonna suffer for that somehow. Maybe not in this life, but in the next one, like, something bad's gonna happen.
Or something good will happen. Gotta keep it
Hopefully,
positive.
hopefully, we knock on wood, maybe something good will happen. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that one.
And you mentioned like this EP that you kind of dug some songs off of a hard drive. Is this part of an album or is this just going to be like its own work?
This like originally the plan was this was going to be an album, but now that it's out and stuff, like it's going to be its own work. Like speaking, the general consensus within the band is that it's like, no, we'll write something new entirely. There are ideas, like we have some concrete ideas for this that we're already working on immediately because like getting this together and recording it, working the songs up was such like an enjoyable process that everyone's really, really excited to just like go and do it again with like 8 more songs or something.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So for this EP, was it like, did you guys all re-record it or was it just like stuff that was from a album from a while ago or how did that kind of all
Oh
work?
no, like so the stuff had been like written, but it was in like demo form. So we recorded it all entirely fresh. Like our drummer Scott. Um, so to ensure that we could kind of in this age of like modern technology, like we were able to handle a lot of like the recording ourselves. Like our drummer Scott engineered and recorded all of his own drums, which he actually said like was way harder than it needed to be because obviously when he's the person that has to press like space bar and then drum, like it's not the easiest thing in the world, but the drums came out sounding good. I tracked all of the guitar with one of my friends, and my bass player did the same thing. And then we went to a studio in London called Monolith Studios, and tracked all the vocals there. Then we sent all of the parts to a guy called Victor Bullock or V Centura, who's the guitar player in Tripticon over in Germany, who's mixed
Hmm.
loads of different bands like Obscura, Alkaloid, Dark Fortress, Tripticon. So we ended up getting a really, really cool result. But yeah, all of the songs were recorded fresh and new. We just had them in like kind of demo form initially, and like loads of things. Um, because normally when the demos are done, it's normally just like a guitar track, so you can't really get like a feel for it. But as soon as like the bass was put on it and the drums were put on it and like the vocals were put on it, they sounded almost like completely different songs anyway.
Well, that's awesome. So I have to ask, for those who haven't heard this EP, what can they expect to hear or what themes will they hear?
So musically, I guess like a lot of the main thing you're gonna hear is like the because we're all of us that play instruments in the bands are all like massive nerds and like all we do is like practice and there's a lot of technicality. It's very intense because it is death metal, so there's a lot of things like blast beats, but also it's quite varied. There are like a good few slower passages and things like this. As far as the themes go, like lyrically, our vocalist is very because Lou, he writes all of his lyrics and things like this. Like we don't have any input on it. Is very into like H.P. Lovecraft and that world. So there are a lot of themes like Nyarlathotep, Dagon, things like this. But also at the same time, like Lou was having a lot of kind of I won't go into it too much, but some kind of like personal struggles in his life. And there are a lot of themes about like insanity or the world collapsing um, on it as well. So the music, whilst it is very melodic, is also still quite dark. So it ties in quite well with the lyrical subject matter of, for example, the song in Spaces Beyond is about through intense sleep deprivation, how like the walls of your sanity can be breached.
Yeah,
And through that, like it can feel like reality is ending almost. So
true.
yeah, I yeah, I guess themes of insanity backed by music, which is like intense, technical, melodic, but also dark.
Yeah, sleep is so important. I feel like if you don't have enough sleep, it can just wreck your whole day.
Yeah, it really can, really can. It can make you feel like you're crazy.
So, if you had to choose one song off the EP, which song do you think would represent the band right now?
Ooh, okay. That's like a tough one because I guess it would be Astral Divination, which is the first song on it, because it shows like everything that I guess that we do. It's melodic, it's progressive, it's intense, but it has like yeah, as a statement piece, I guess it would have to be that one.
And which song did you have on the EP that was like maybe the hardest to write or maybe the most technical to write? That personally,
Easily Astral Divination. I labored on the entire middle section of that for longer than I would care to admit. It was not an easy song to write. It was just also like at a period of time where uh I had like a real brutal like writer's block and like the only way to really like get through that is to just keep trying to write more riffs. But
Mhm.
you end up writing like a billion riffs and you're like none of these are good and you have to just keep going through it, which is like a really painful process. But eventually that came together and that's like the song I would say I'm the most proud of, but it was easily the hardest song to write and it was the hardest song out of them to record. And when it was brought to the band, everyone felt this sense of dread because it was just like we gotta like play this up live now. When it was originally demoed, I think it was like 20 BPM faster, but we wanted to play it for some shows that we were doing at the beginning of last year, so we like slowed it down, and that's at the speed that it was recorded at.
Awesome. Did you have a song that was like super easy, like it just came together super fast?
Oh my God. So I would say the one of those would probably be the last song on their Realm of Icor that came together quite quickly. But interestingly enough, the one I would say about that is like that's like the crown jewel of that is our bass player Luke, because like that song did not sound how it sounds until he put all of his bits on it. Like he did exceptional work. I mean, he did exceptional work on like all of it, but like on that one in particular, like yeah, he's like the shining star performance on that song, without
Like
question.
secret sauce of the song.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. It's always cool when someone else comes in and does something different and it just like makes it pop. So that's
Yep.
awesome. So I'm curious to know when a listener goes through and listens to the EP, do you think that they should listen from like start to finish? Is that how it's meant to be listened to?
Um, I've never actually thought of that. So I'd say, like, I would say yeah, but I feel like generally, as a collection of songs, you could pick whatever one and you could start from whatever you want. I'm under no illusion that there are going to be songs on there for some people that are going to massively prefer certain ones than they will prefer others. So I would just say, like, um, yeah, you could randomize it if you wanted and just like see what one you like the most. But never hurts to just start from the beginning and listen all the way through.
Is there like emotion that you're trying to like, I guess that you put into the album that you want listeners to feel, or what do you want them to experience when they listen to it?
Ooh, hard question. Um, so I guess like the main thing initially when we were writing it that we wanted to achieve is we wanted to sound like a legitimate technical death metal band.
Hmm.
Um, that was the main thing because the previous release, like a big part of like this kind of music is we already had like one element of it down where like the previous release before this, it was mainly about almost like the guitar and the vocals. Um, but on this one, we wanted to like kind of highlight the drums and the bass, specifically the bass a bit more. Um, so I guess the main feeling I want people to feel when they listen to it is hopefully they take away at least one part that, they find interesting or intriguing. Like, especially when one thing we set out to achieve when we write songs is like, I'm a huge fan of hooks, as is like everyone else in the band. And I feel that in this kind of music, it's very easy for people to get like way too bogged down in the concept of technicality, and that can sometimes become almost like an arms race in, which kind of throws the hooks and the melodies to one side, just like be kind of like, look how fast we can play. So I hope that, like, sorry, this is a really roundabout answer, but I hope that from this, at least people find hooks and melodies that they catch their ear and that stick with them.
And I noticed you mentioned like, the drums and the bass are what you want most to stick out in this EP. What, I guess, made you decide that that's what you wanted when the EP was being created?
I would say absolutely. That was a choice made long before this was recorded, just on the fact that the previous release wasn't like that. And it felt like there was like a massive hole. Like, don't get me wrong, there are drums on the thing and like the drums are intense, but it was like a byproduct of the drums were heavily like sample replaced and they didn't sound real. So we wanted to make sure that the drums were like live recorded and organic, and that was like a convincing element of it. But the bass part was just like the bass on the previous release is like so negligible, it just kind of follows what the guitar does. So the reason to push those more was just to get it to sound more like a complete band, as opposed to just um like a guitar player's project, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you mentioned that there was like some lineup where you like lost some band members and everyone kind of came back together, got new band members. How do you think that's changed the dynamic of where it started versus where it is now?
Oh my God. So I would say the main thing now is like it's way more collaborative. Um, and I don't want to like throw anyone under a bus, but it very much felt like years ago. Um, it was like me and the vocalist trying to push this forwards and trying to like pull people along with us. And you almost have to like try and encourage them, like, yeah, this is sick. We should do this. We should do this. Like,
Yeah.
you would ask for people's like creative input and they just kind of like shrug and they'd be like, I don't know, man, like whatever you want. But whereas now, like everyone is committed and people want to add their parts and people want to be creative and they want to put their stamp on the music, that is the biggest change from pre-pandemic, I would say, is that people want to put their mark on this, which is really, really, really cool.
So it sounds like the new lineup, like you guys all collaborate better together versus, I guess, the previous setup.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And how does like a song come to be like when you're creating it? For example, does it start with a riff, an emotion, a feeling? Some people start with lyrics.
Ooh. So on the lyric front, like because we're working on something at the moment, my vocalist will generally like he will read a lot, like read a lot of things.
Mm,
And he told me the other day that the thing that he's reading up the most at the moment, because he'll read like a book. Like the one he's reading at the moment is he wants to kind of do this next song on like base it on the King in Yellow. So he'll like read that book and then he'll read like a billion other things, like breaking down that book. Um, and then he'll try and like form an idea from all of this like literature that's like supplements that literature. As far as the songs go, normally it starts with like guitar riffs. I'll get like a shell of like guitar parts and
mhm,
I'll bounce it around with um my bass player, our other guitar player Chris, and then Scott, our drummer. And then like I don't have like I know like some bands, like a guitar player might write bass or they might write drums. Like I don't do that mainly because like what I don't know how to program drums, and
yeah.
also I kind of like don't for this project I kind of don't believe in it because it can kind of like like sometimes it doesn't sound like a band. So Scott will like write his drums, he'll figure that out, he'll do like a rough track of that and he'll put that down, and then Luke will
Hmm.
write his bass and he'll put that down, and then we'll like almost like bounce it with all of these parts on it and get it so it's kind of like exactly where we want it to be, and then we'll sort of like be like, okay, this is done, let's move on to the next one.
So do you like start with a riff and like send it to the rest of the band and then they're just like they add on their own parts or
Yeah, basically.
well that's awesome. So if they get a riff and they're like, oh, we can't really work with that, how does that like collaboration work?
Then we'll figure out what it is about that riff that they can't work with. If like they flat out they just don't vibe with it, then we'll bin it off and then we'll get something else. Um, it generally goes one of those ways. It's either like we rework the riff so that they can vibe with it, or if like it's not happening, we'll just bin it off. Like, well, I say bin it off, it'll get stuck in like a folder somewhere with a load of other ones that never get used.
Yeah. Have you ever thought
Yeah.
about releasing ones in this stuck folder or maybe going back and reworking them or like it?
Like so there are some in there. Like there are some songs in there, like the because while we were trying to pick songs out for the EP, because like there's still another like six songs from the previously written album that has been done, two of which are getting reworked at the moment, which will go on the album. But there were like there's a third one that's like a maybe, but then there's two other ones that are just like when you listen to them like 5 years or 4 years later, in fact, you're just like, this is not it. Like, this is not it. And like, no amount of like reworking them can kind of like get a decent vibe, I don't think. So, one thing I was like thinking of doing is just like offering them to someone else from like another project and be like, do you want them? Like, because if you do, you can just have them.
That would be cool. See if they can maybe like make it into something
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, if they're not getting used, it'd be good if like someone just uses them, right?
yeah, I agree. So I have to ask what's next for the band. It sounds like you guys are in the writing process. Any shows or
Yeah.
anything like that?
Oh, so we obviously just put this thing out and we're still kind of in the process of like promoting that. So we're doing like interviews like with yourself. We are going to record another music video in July for the song Organic Monolith. And then it's just like, yeah, we got shows. Like we have shows all over the country. We've got two tours which haven't been announced yet, which are both at the end of the year. One which is more like around the middle part of the UK, one which is like really up north and into Scotland. Then we are supporting Immortal Disfigurement in London on the 28th of June. Then we have some other kind of one-off shows. And then we've got our emails going, trying to book more shows with promoters. Just want to play as many shows as we can. We've got like a bunch of merch and we've got a bunch of places that we haven't been to that we'd like to go to. And then next year also, we're trying to organize some shows with another band in Europe so that we could potentially play some shows in like Belgium and France and Germany, which would be really sick. And
Mm-hmm.
then obviously, like in the background with that is, yeah, it's just writing. Like if we can get enough songs written, then hopefully at the end of next year we'll go record and hopefully get that out in 2028 or something, which would be really, really cool. So yeah, it's just like the team's together, everything's happening. So it's like we
Yeah.
we just want to capitalize on it.
Awesome. Well, I have one last question here for you. Is there anything that you'd like to say to anyone interested in listening to the EP? Anyone who's followed you from other projects or from the beginning? Just anything you'd like to say in general.
Yeah, for sure. The main thing I'd like to say is anyone that has checked it out, thank you so much. Like in the area in the UK where we're from, Kent, which is like the southeast of England, there has been like a metal scene, but it's been a very up and down. And for like extreme music, it's never really been like a vibe. Have been one of the few extreme bands that have come from this area. So it feels very much like in the UK as a whole, that death metal is in a very good spot. You've got great bands like Mutagenic Host, Celestial Sanctuary, um, and countless other bands that we've played with, like Ancient Rivalry and Smoldering Tomb, bands like this. So I would say to anyone thinking about listening to the EP, I would say not only listen to the EP, but check out at the moment death metal and extreme metal in the UK is in a very good place, and there are lots of very, very cool up and coming bands coming up. So like get in on the ground floor, so you can say that you were listening to these bands before they had free albums out, and all your mates were listening and now listening to them.
Well, awesome. I will let you introduce the EP, let people know where to get it and where people can stay updated so they can, see where your shows are and everything.
Thank you so much. So the EP is called Invicta, and our band is called Infected Dead. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming platforms, Tidal. You can also check it out on YouTube. We are on all social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, trying to get TikTok going. Hard work, but it's all good. And then also we have t-shirts, CDs, vinyls on Bandcamp, and hopefully at some point we will be able to come play a show near wherever you are in the world.
Well, awesome. And for anyone interested, I'll leave all the links under the video so it makes it really easy for you guys to take a listen and keep up with the band.